Welcome back, everybody, to another powerful episode of the Profits for Sanity podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Caminata, CEO of Grosso University, the industry-leading training and consulting group. As you already know, it's the mission of this podcast to bring on the brightest minds in the home improvement industry that can educate you on how to grow and scale a more profitable business. One pain point I guarantee almost everybody watching the show can relate to is a never-ending struggle to recruiting top-quality talent. If recruiting is an area you wish to improve upon, this episode is definitely for you. Today, I'm absolutely honored to introduce a guest who's quietly become one of the most influential forces in home improvement talent acquisition, and her name is Karli Budde. I just want to thank you so much, Karli, for being here. And Karli is the owner of a brand new company called Elevate Talent Solutions, and also, as we'll discuss on this podcast, the foundation of our all-new Grosso University Talent Solutions service. She is a strategic talent acquisition and HR leader, a people operations expert, and a true entrepreneur at heart. She has spent the last 10 plus years building some of the highest performing teams in the home improvement industry. And I personally had the honor of working with Karli for many, many years, growing and scaling an absolute sales powerhouse. And I have to tell you, she's an absolute beast at what she does. Karli successfully scaled the recruiting organization to over 30 plus recruiters, and her teams have been responsible for onboarding literally thousands of professionals across multiple companies industry-wide. Today, she is here to share tips and strategies for attracting top quality talent, building world-class onboarding systems, and turning recruiting into a true growth engine for your company. How's that for an introduction, right? Not bad. I only messed up a few times. But I just want to thank you, Karli, for being on our show. It's an honor to have you here. And for the people who didn't have the honor of working with you like I did, this is really your first podcast ever, right?
It sure is.
So it's an honor to have you on the show. Like I said in the intro, you really have quietly become one of the most decorated and powerful talent solution, HR recruiting masterminds I've ever met. And obviously, we're honored to be able to work with you on a greater scale in this industry.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. But what I've discovered, I've interviewed a lot of successful people on the show, and nobody really has the home improvement industry as part of their life plan. It's not like we go to elementary school or high school or college. They're like, hey, you should check out the home improvement industry. Yeah. But clearly, you had a passion for a world of, human resources and recruiting. So I kind of want to go back to the beginning. When did that journey first begin for you, this whole world of recruiting and HR, and how in the world did that transition into the home improvement industry?
Yeah. So when I first started college, I actually started as a nursing major.
Okay, wow.
And when you're in the nursing degree, you have to become a CNA and work as a CNA, in partnership with schooling. And I found out very quickly that blood was not my thing. Okay. But the whole reason why I wanted to go into nursing was to make an impact on people. And so when I was looking at different opportunities, I decided I wanted to go into something in the people space. So HR was generic enough where I felt like I could kind of spread my wings eventually in the future. And so that's what led me to HR. And then going into this home improvement industry, I mean, honestly, luck. Yeah. Just like you said, I didn't expect myself to be working in home improvement in my future. Mm-hmm. I applied for hundreds of jobs just looking to get my foot in the door somewhere. And the opportunity, I met with an old colleague for the job, and she was kind of running everything from the administrative side of Mad City. Mm-hmm. From there on, it's all history.
Yeah. So you quickly became, I would just say, very uniquely gifted in terms of attracting quality talent in this industry. I guess just coming into the home improvement industry for the first time, getting thrown into this role and kind of taking the reins, I guess. How do you feel you're able to adapt and evolve so quickly and become super skilled at attracting top quality talent? Because obviously learning about it in the classroom or going to school and getting a degree is a lot different than getting thrown into a business and having to take the reins on an entire department like you did.
Yeah, and I'll never, shy away from saying that school's important, but honestly, within any career path, you learn so much through being in the actual field versus, what you learn in the classroom setting. When I came into Mad City, nobody was telling me what to do. The person that I reported into, they didn't really have much of an HR degree, HR experience. They were kind of doing things the way that they felt was best for the company. So I had to train myself on pretty much everything. I had resources from like some of the transactional HR stuff, and, I dabbled in a little bit of accounting, but we found out very fast through the first employer that recruiting was needed because they wanted to scale. I mean, we worked together at that place. So, we really had to hit the ground running, and, my job became probably about 60% recruiting and 40% HR. Because at the point where I joined Mad City, and we were 40 employees, I think, at that time. And after leaving that business, we were, 1,200 employees. So
it's just mind blowing to me.
It's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So you kind of already alluded to this. It seems like you just have a genuine passion for helping people in one way or the other. Like, I don't care what it is, I want to help people, right? So transitioning now into the profession that you're in, I guess, what do you love the most about the work you do currently and helping people in this capacity? Because this truly is, in my opinion, one of the biggest needs for all businesses right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one, like, to attract top quality talent, but as we know, like, keeping and retaining them is also equally, if not even more important.
Yeah.
Right. So, but what do you love about the work you do now?
Well, I truly believe that people are everything. And I think, having this new opportunity to work with other businesses, I worked with a lot of businesses where I came from, but there's just so much of a need to kind of go back to the basics and really look at the employee experience. Because I think where a lot of companies go wrong is they think they need bodies, and then they want bodies, but then the experience is a little off and they can't retain. And so it's really important when you're building a recruiting function that you also have the beams and the support in place on the back end of what you're bringing in to be able to keep the people that we're spending the money on. And that can really scale you into the future.
So I hear all the time, Dominic, there's a shortage of marketers, a shortage of salespeople, a shortage of installers. And I think life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I keep telling myself there's a shortage, guess what? I'm going to have a hard time finding people. Is there truly a shortage of people, or do you think people just have to be more creative and be willing to adapt in terms of how they're attracting and maybe even compensating their people so they can be more attracting? That's
a really good question. And I think you hear that. I know we'll talk about it later on, but there's a book called Extreme Ownership that I really kind of took with me through my whole career. And it's like, you have to own what is happening, right? Like, you can't always make excuses for what you're living in. And I think that goes really hand in hand with what you were saying. There's not a talent shortage. I mean, if anything, there's more people in this world than we've ever had. Now, there's definitely people that, some of the newcomers are a little bit more lazy, quote unquote, because, I mean,
they've trained to be.
They've had technology be able to do a lot of.
They've been trained and conditioned.
Right?
To be.
Yeah. So, when it comes to the recruiting, the talent space, you have to be creative. You can't post and pray anymore. You can't just recruit people off of an ad and hope and pray that, that's going to build your business, especially if you're scaling pretty quickly. You have to go, you have to get out of the box. An employer brand is one thing that's so important for any business. If you don't have a good employer brand, you're going to struggle to attract the right type of people. The minute that somebody goes on Indeed to even look what jobs you have, if you have a 2.0 rating when there's a 5.0 scale, they're looking at similar jobs where companies have 4.5 ratings. And who's that person going to go to when it comes down to either, deciding to go into an interview or accept a job? They're going to go for the 4.5.
So I'll talk to companies about that, because I know how valuable that was, like when you and I were working together, because I'd have so many reps come in and I'd say, what stood out to you the most about, when you saw our ad on Indeed? And they said, well, I looked at your employee reviews and they're outstanding.
Yeah.
So people read those things.
Yeah. And one thing about like Indeed reviews, Glassdoor reviews, I mean, even Google reviews. People don't really think to go to those platforms to review them unless they're upset with the business. So in a lot of cases, companies make the mistake of just letting that do its own thing. But by doing that, they're getting the once in, a couple weeks, issue, or a couple months or a couple years issue of somebody that's not happy. And look, we're human. Everybody has bad days. So every business is going to run into mistakes, and there's going to be angry customers or employees. And we have to do our best to campaign people to actually provide the reviews that the customer deserves, or the client, the employees deserve.
Yeah, it makes such a profound difference. I actually talked to a lot of companies. They didn't even know that was a thing. They're like, Indeed reviews. Like, what? What is that?
Yeah. It is crazy how many, especially on the smaller business side, they don't really think about that piece. The reviews are posted right under the job title. So not only should you have a really attractive job title, but you want your brand to be positive, because that's how you get them in the door. And then how you land them is having a really exciting, enticing interview. And then how you retain them is ensuring that you're living what you said you were going to do in that interview. And that's another piece I think that companies fall off on, is either if you have a really good salesperson, you sell them into taking the job, but then they get into the job and it's realization that, oh yeah, this is not what they said it was going to be. It's not all butterflies and rainbows.
It's crazy how little people actually prepare for interviews.
Oh.
In terms of like the manager or owner that's interviewing, they just kind of show up. They're, wearing gym clothes.
Yeah.
Turn your damn phone off, give them the undivided attention. But it's like,
and it's only getting worse.
You're giving a presentation, right? So,
yeah.
And it was very structured how I went through that interview process. But my goal was clarity. I want to make sure that this person was absolutely crystal clear on who we are, what we stand for, what the training is, what the expectations are, how they get paid. They always want to know that. And exactly how they could thrive here, and also how they could get let go. So I wouldn't be afraid to have those conversations. But like I said, it took a lot of preparation. It's very organized, but they would be leaving knowing the pathway forward very clearly as to what's going to happen.
And again, going back to the brand, everything from the time that they apply, it's not just an advertisement, right? When we talk to them on the phone, when you're pre-screening them before you put them through to a hiring manager, any tools and resources that you can bring into that to get them prepared for what to expect with the hiring manager is huge. Day in a life video, if the company's partnering with a training and development team, sending them a video of that, giving them all of the tools and resources. So there really shouldn't be an excuse when that employee gets to the interview. They should have everything that they need to do a really good job at that interview. And if they don't, well, then you probably aren't bringing the right people in.
As I mentioned in our little intro here, you and I worked together for several years. And obviously, one of my big case studies that I'm known for is building a sales powerhouse, building a high performance team. And as much as I like to take credit for that, I know wholeheartedly that the reason I was having so much success is because I was training the right people, because you were bringing in absolute all-stars into the organization, right? But that whole 1-2 punch of, your recruiting and, Dominic's training, I guess, why do you feel, just looking back, it was so effective? What was the big thing about that relationship and partnership we had that made that so powerful?
Well, first of all, it's Dom.
Yeah,
so
it's Dom. Yeah.
What could go wrong? When it comes to the alignment piece, it's really important that the recruiter knows the day in the life of the role. So it's important for those people to understand what a sales rep does on their daily basis, because you can't truly speak and sell a role to a candidate if you have not lived that life, right? So I think from that end of really understanding what a sales rep does, or, what a canvasser does, or what a production person does, and then having that be very fluid throughout their, experience through the interview is super important. And the trust piece. I think we both trusted each other. You see a lot of companies these days where they have a recruiting team, but then they want to see all of the resumes prior to actually interviewing them. And that's not a good setup. If you have a recruiting team, trust your recruiters. If they have their stuff set up, they're going to do their research. They're going to get their pieces in play so that when you send them through to an interview, they know it's a good person. And if it's not, it's all about alignment. right?
Yeah.
So if there's the feedback loop, right? So if it's not a good interview, well, why? And we need to dig into that. I think we had a really good communication plan with interviews so that I could take the feedback that you have and use that for future screens. And that's what I was able to implement, with the team that I had built of it's all feedback, it's all communication, it's all partnership. We're not a siloed division that just transactionally sends people through. This is a partnership in order to get people to align with the business and the leaders that are running the department. Everybody's got to be on the same page.
Obviously, home improvement companies, they have so many things they got to focus on, right? So they got to generate leads. They got to make sure their reps are trained on to sell those leads. They got to figure out a way to install them. Being expert recruiters is not something that they really have the time to master, right? And they shouldn't. But this is why, like, nowadays I see this as being one of the big pain points. And again, they get in their own way. They're like, there's nobody out there. We can't find anybody. But recruiting is an art form. And I guess I wanted to ask you, it's a pretty obvious answer why, but why do you feel that having a really dialed in recruiting and onboarding program is absolutely essential? Like, that's like a non-negotiable, something that every company really needs to take seriously, more serious than anything else.
Yeah, like I said, it's the blood of the company. Without the people, the business, especially in home improvement, wouldn't be able to run. I mean, you need people to install, you need people to go sell, you need people to answer the phone for customer questions. It is literally what pumps the company to be able to, with blood, to be able to do what they need to do to get the work out the door. And if you do it wrong, man, it's costly, and it's damaging to your reputation. I mean, when we talk about employer brand, I mean, I like to talk about referrals a lot. Like, referrals are honestly the best way to grow a business, because if you have a really good top talent performer and they spread the word to their friends, I mean, in this world, you should be hanging out with people that are like-minded to you, right?
Well, I say that all the time. Some of the best salespeople we ever had were referrals from existing salespeople.
Yeah. So if you're damaging that reputation with just a really bad experience, either from the talent side or the interview side or their actual tenure with, employment, it can be rough.
Yeah, so you're losing that salesperson and every other potential sales rep that they would bring to the table for you.
Yeah. I mean, in sales, how many times did we bring in like car salesmen, and none of the car salesmen were happy, and they would literally bring their entire, team of people over.
Yeah. They would surprise us sometimes. Like, I got my friend with me. He wants to interview as well. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Hire them both together.
Yeah. And, it really just takes getting one right person that has that network that can tap you into extreme amount of potential talent in the future. So, yeah, I mean, it is so important that the employer brand is maintained, and talent and recruiting and people, it's all part of that.
So you mentioned it's very costly, right? So what do you see as being like the cost of a mishired salesperson, mishired marketer, or some of the other hidden costs that people really don't think about when they mishire or misonboard a new employee?
Good question. I mean, you think about this. So for people that are scaling super fast, I like to put it in the perspective of if you're growing so fast, so canvassing, we'll just use an example. If you want to build a 10-person team, and you are spending money on ads to get the person in, you are spending money on sourcing, so accounts to be able to reach out to people, right? You are spending money on the recruiter to actually talk to the people. You're spending money on the hiring manager because it takes their time to interview. You're then spending money to onboard them, so somebody in HR or talent. And then you're spending money on their training. And if they fall off right away, you're starting that cycle all over again. And is it a good use of time for a manager to constantly be developing new employees versus also developing current employers or employees, right? Like, it's so important for a manager or a leader to be putting in the effort with their team that's been here. Even if they've been here for 2 years, they still deserve that attention for that ongoing training and development. And if their time is tied up with just always bringing in new people, they're never going to be able to spend that time with their team. So, I mean, from a cost standpoint, some companies spend millions of dollars every single year. And especially if they don't have the right systems. And I know that can maybe lead us into another topic here, but systems are huge. It's so important to lean into technology these days to do some of the work for you so you can spend the time on the people.
And I know for certain that we were able to land a lot of super high caliber individuals because we had those systems in place.
Yeah.
You know, and I literally would have the training book on the table. I had an online university on the computer.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure they understood like all the support tools and resources that we've invested in to ensure their long-term success, growth and development, you know, so people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's not just I come into this organization and sink or swim. I just have to figure it out on my own.
And I think a lot of businesses, you know, when they look at talent, they want like people who have the experience. And when we talk about that excuse of there's not talent on the market, sometimes you have to make the talent.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, we definitely would look for like young and hungry individuals to come join the team. They didn't have the experience. They didn't know what the heck they were getting into necessarily when they went to apply for the job. But they had the motivation and the want, and it was up to us to give them the tools and resources to actually learn and, you know, understand how to do the job.
So I wanted to ask you a question about a trend that I'm seeing that I completely disagree with. It's the notion of doing group interviews. So what's your opinion on group interviews, and why do you feel like they're really not that effective or the way to go?
Yeah, so you actually kind of see some of these bigger companies like Indeed and Glassdoor.
Oh, we're going to interview 20 reps at a time, or 20. It's like, oh my God.
They're trying to think outside the box because they want, you know, to leverage themselves as the best company to use. But they're actually promoting, you know, here, we'll do all of the work for you. You really don't need a recruiting team. We'll get all of these people. We'll basically overbook you. 20-person group interview. 10 people will show up maybe. But I personally don't agree with it. I mean, recruiting talent, people, anything in the business, it's a relationship building opportunity, and you can't truly understand somebody's potential when you're talking to them in a group setting.
Correct.
It's not personable at all. You're not going to get out of them what you want to in that, you know, 1 30-minute, 45-minute time frame that you're also with 10 other people. And unfortunately, we're in the business where one person says something and it like answers the question, and then the next person just steals what they said. So you're not getting their true self in the interview. And like I said, relationship building is so huge. And not only that, the candidate is interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. So how are you able to give your best self when you're, you know, in front of 10 different people? I don't like not having things in control. I don't like the platforms just bringing in people who have never been even pre-screened. I think the pre-screening process is super helpful to get the right talent and waste less time of the hiring managers, because it's you guys don't have all the time in the world. A recruiter's, you know, job is to really dive into these people's personalities and, you know, their work history, and really try to see what do they have that can really benefit this company and take them, you know, scale them into the future.
Another thing that I see, so there's the group interview side, and then I see companies that, in my opinion, again, I'm not an expert, they have way too many interview steps. It's like we have the phone interview, then we have the Zoom interview, then we have the in-person interview with the sales manager, then we have a separate in-person interview with the owner, it's like there's like 5 interviews before it's like, come on already. Like, so I guess, do you feel like people can overdo it by having way too many steps? And what have you found is kind of that sweet spot where, okay, we're going to filter them down, have a few steps, but we're also going to pounce on these people because they don't want to be like, you know, drugged through all this runaround.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think there's a need for a longer process for higher level roles. You're talking about managers, directors, you know, the people that you probably want a couple different people speaking to them in order to, you know, bring them on. From the high volume side, your sales reps, your call center, your canvassers, your retail reps. Honestly, speed to lead. It's just like the call center, unfortunately. But talent it is, you know, they move fast. All the competitors, I mean, a lot of home improvement industry or companies are operating very similarly. You know, I talk to sales reps all day long, and guess what? Company down the road is doing a 10, 2, and a 6. And guess what? They're telling you can make $150,000 to $200,000. So money hungry, you know, motivated people are going to take the first best opportunity. So in the sales environment, as an example, if you go through a phone screen and then you have a hiring manager interview, and then they want to go through another interview and then another test and another interview, by the time you know, get that person to even maybe the 3rd or 4th step, they're already provided an offer from another company, and they accepted it on the spot because they're all very similar. So it's so important to make it quick and efficient for the candidate. If people are on the market for a job, it's either because you recruited them, you sourced them, they weren't looking. Those ones are hard to get, right? You got to really build something up to make them leave their current business. They're on the market because where they were, they weren't happy. Something at their company didn't make them go. The people that you get that are really good in front of you, if you could leave the interview and tell yourself like that person will be an all-star on my team, you need to move on them, because it's very, very possible that you turn around and even the next day they're not available.
So one thing that I love that you do that I'm just guessing is probably not as common as it should be is you do a lot of research on what exactly the competition is offering. So do you find that companies probably don't do that as much as they should? Like truly go out there and figure out, okay, what exactly is my competition offering these people for comp plans, for benefits, for like the work schedule?
Unfortunately, there's companies in the home improvement space that are still operating the same today as they were 10, 12, 20 years ago. Right. And you need to be able to change with the times. In a home improvement from the sales end, 6-day, 7-day, work week was kind of the norm when we first started working together, right? And that's just how it was. But now it's becoming more and more, realistic. People want work-life balance.
What I've seen just from you, like getting results, it's not like you have to completely revamp everything all the time. Sometimes it's like that one little added bonus or that one little perk or being creative with the schedule, that one little tweak, all of a sudden you're landing a shitload of clients.
Yeah.
A shitload of new talent.
You have to figure out their why, right? You have this resume, you have this candidate in front of you. Why are they looking for another job? And that why is so important of, are they going to be successful here or not? Because if they give you a why of like the sales position, for example, I'm running a lot of appointments, I'm kind of burnt out. Red flag, probably not going to work.
Or if they're moaning and groaning about their previous leaders or their previous owners, like for multiple different jobs, and it's always them pointing the finger.
Yeah.
It's like the classic, line where, if one person's an asshole, that might be true, but if everyone's an asshole, you're the asshole.
So look in the mirror.
Exactly.
Another mistake I've seen a lot of people do is they'll just recruit. I've been in this place before. They'll just start recruiting, and it's like, this isn't doing us any good. I'm wasting more of my time doing this than actually trying to work with it and set it up right so we can go to market and waste less time and create success for the company.
Hey closers, it's Dan Coombsbury from Grosso University. I'm the sales trainer who runs our monthly Sales Academy Masterclass, where we walk you through our 11-step process for in-home sales in the home improvement industry. This process is perfect for salespeople of any level of experience, whether you're green coming right into the field or you've been doing this for 30 years. We promise you that you're going to learn something that you can take out that day and help you close business. From my personal experience, I know that many homeowners that you talk to are looking to work with a credible expert who is knowledgeable, but they don't like being sold. The beautiful part about this process is it can be tailored for any personality type, any problem you may run into, and we're going to go through this in such a detail-oriented manner that you'll be prepared for any situation. From walking up and knocking on the door all the way through buttoning up the deal, we will teach you the nuanced art form that is one-call closing. This is a skill set that helped me make multiple six-figure income for years and years, and now, because I get to sit on this side of the camera, I get to pass that skill set along to you. I hope you're up to the task, because I'll tell you, this is a 145-page book that we train over a 2-week span. It is coupled with our 11-part video series that's broken down so it's easy to digest. No matter what type of learner you are, we accommodate you. Now, at the end of our 2-week training process, you will have to pass a final exam, and it's not easy. You'll have to score at least an 85% on this final exam in order to become a certified sales warrior through the Grosso University program. And that's where the hard work begins. But if you're up to the task and you want to make life-changing money and cultivate a skill set that will permeate into all areas of your life, I invite you to join me in the Sales Academy Masterclass. We have classes that start on the second Monday of every month, and I look forward to seeing you in class. And as always here at Grosso University, yes, you are a closer.
One thing I see a lot of companies doing that it gets them in trouble, and again, I'm not the expert, I wanted to ask you. I see them constantly like turning on and turning off and turning on and turning off their recruiting for positions like sales or for marketing. And my philosophy is you never know when your next superstar is looking for their next opportunity, and you want to be visible to them ideally when they're available, right? Yeah. People ask me like, should I be recruiting all the time? Should I be recruiting some of the time? My thing is you should be recruiting pretty much all the time. Mm-hmm. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends upon resources, how many recruiters you have available. Going back to the talent shortage, if you just keep an ad on all the time, there's gonna be a lot of applications, and you have to be able to have somebody that can pretty quickly review those applications, right? Just like in the call center, you can't let a lead go stale.
Correct.
You don't want to let a candidate go stale. So you definitely have to have the capacity to be able to review those resumes and catch that good talent. I don't think it's a bad practice to leave them on, but on the other hand, if you're constantly recruiting for the same roles, candidates could see that as a red flag. Like, why are you always having an outside sales role open? Right. Are you not being able to retain, or are you actually growing? And nobody's actually going to go to the website and see how much the company's growing in order to see, is this, position. So I would say that's the one downfall of always having an add-on. But I don't think it's ever a bad practice to always have opportunities available. It really goes down to the budget and the capacity of the team.
That makes total sense. So as I mentioned in my intro, in your career, you're able to grow your recruiting team to over 30 plus recruiters. And I think you told me you're responsible between you and your team, thousands, was like 8,000 or more people, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, what do you attribute to being able to grow a team like that? Because it's one thing to be good at recruiting, like Karli herself, right? But to have a team of world-class recruiters that you trust to also, share that same skill set and vision that you do.
I mean, it's probably the most pivotal point in my career. Was given the trust to be able to build a team. I mean, early on in the days where we worked together, burning the candle at both ends, right? The light at both ends, staying in the office until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, getting into the office at 7 o'clock, doing it all myself. And I learned very quickly that that's not what's going to make this company successful. I can't put all of the eggs in just me.
Right.
So I was very grateful that, the leadership at that business was able to provide me with the opportunity to hire people. And it was new to me. Like I said, I taught myself pretty much the ropes and utilized people like yourself, for extra resources and, training and development. But leadership to me, I think, just comes very easy because, again, going back to the people piece. I'm a big culture advocate. So even if the companies that I've worked for might have had an awful employee culture, I always tried to create a culture that was just amazing for the people, because they always say, I think there's a quote, people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad leaders.
I agree with you wholeheartedly that it's almost always a leadership issue anytime an organization's having an issue, right? And Rick Grosso actually preached that. He's like, you have the company and culture that you deserve.
Yeah.
You have the team that you built. So, because I see a lot of owners and leaders complaining about, my salespeople this, my salespeople that. Well, more often than not, that's a mere reflection of you.
Yeah.
So we got to look internally, like, okay, what can I do to better lead by example, to get more clarity on what my core values are, what I stand for, what the bigger purpose of what we're trying to build, have a more clear vision and direction.
Yeah. And I think going off of that too, a lot of these smaller organizations, maybe even medium-sized organizations, they grow from within, which is great. You want an internal mobility program that you can entice people with, because everybody wants the opportunity to grow. But I think where a lot of companies go wrong is they have a really good canvasser and they make them a canvas manager, but they don't put in anything, any development, any education, any training into that person. So it's kind of just like leaving them off to the wolves, right? And that's not a good practice, because again, then we're going back to inefficiencies. We're losing candidates. Like, we're spending all this money on getting candidates and, recruiters' time, and then they get into the interview and then they don't accept the job because the person didn't do a good job at, I think that's, a really important function is really leaning into your leaders. It's great that you want to promote them, but then give them the tools and resources to be successful at what you just elevated them into.
Absolutely. It's a learned skill. So like sales is a learnable skill. Leadership also is a learnable skill. Some people have natural leadership skills. Did I ever tell you my definition of leadership? I say leaders are inspirational agents of influence. They can navigate their team to a clearly defined destination.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I see lacking in leadership from most organizations is they don't inspire and empower. Rick Grosso, as a matter of fact, one day I dropped him off at an airport after he came and did a boot camp for Mad City. I asked him, if you were to give me one piece of advice on how I can be a better leader for my team, what would it be? He's like, Dominic, you got to be their cheerleader. He's like, you got to build them up. You got to keep them pumped up and motivated and excited. If you don't do that, the morale of the team's just going to dwindle and wane over time, and you're basically going to have a revolving door. So
yeah, and going back to, ownership, you have to understand when too much is too much, right? Because as a leader, you can only give so much, right? Yeah. So it's really important that you're the cheerleader, but I think all too often we take on way too much than we can actually bite. For sure. And that impacts how we then lead people.
One of my favorite things to do is I was talking one-on-one with salespeople. I was like, what can I do to be a better leader for you? If you were to basically run a sales meeting, how would you structure it differently to make it more impactful? So get them invested into the process. So it's not like you're leading alone on an island all by yourself. It's like they feel like they all have a part in this.
People want to feel like part of something bigger and greater, especially sales reps. They're in the field all day long. They're getting human interaction with customers. But a lot of the team environment is through an app or through texting or through some sort of group chat that you have within the company. So anything like that where you can just get them more involved and make them feel like they are, a pillar or, somebody that's deeply involved within what they're doing is going to give them extra motivation to want to do more for the company.
How important do you feel it is to bring people together in person?
Yeah, I mean, if you're building a company, obviously there's only so much you can do when you're in so many different states. You're not going to make people fly or drive for a meeting. But I think there's pieces that you can do, with internally to have separate little pockets of meetings. I know at Mad City, what did you guys do? You had all of the different offices, but then you got everybody in that office together, and then you put everybody on the screen that was in the other offices. So there's ways that you can collaborate, but I think it's super important to get that, that team, that's what builds your culture, is being together as a team. Group chats and all of that, it's fun, it's exciting, it can sometimes motivate you, but getting your entire squad to cheer you on for an accomplishment that's called out in a group setting, there's just nothing better.
So within this powerhouse team of recruiters you built, what were some of the different technologies, platforms, software that you leveraged to make your recruiting so powerful?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I still remember my first time recruiting, I was going off of an Excel spreadsheet in an Indeed platform. Some of the most common tools is a solid ATS that can integrate with your calendar so that you can schedule an interview right out of the system. Texting, I mean, we're in a day and age where if somebody sees a random number, they're probably not going to answer you. So being able to text somebody to prep them for your call, or text them to be able to see what their availability is for an interview, is huge. Getting a pulse on the experience. I mean, you don't know if it's bad, especially if people don't do any exit interviews or anything like that. So having some sort of survey system that people can complete at a certain time in their experience so that you can see, okay, was how was your recruiter? How was your hiring manager? How was your actual employment journey? And you can bring all of those together, and then you can actually catch common trends of what's happening. Are we having bad experiences with the hiring manager? Do we need to lean into that hiring manager to be able to provide them with some extra development so that we stop seeing this trend of, bad reviews at X, Y, and Z time? Not having to go through a bunch of different systems when it comes to your ATS and your HRS. So when you get all the way to the finish line with an interview, it's an accepted offer. Having an offer letter that can be out of your ATS is huge. But then their onboarding paperwork. Nobody wants to do paperwork anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They want it on their phone, and it has to be mobile friendly. So having some sort of system where they can complete all of their paperwork on their phone is also huge. But I would say, an ATS is a game changer, because mm-hmm. you can automate, if you try calling somebody and they don't answer, you can put them into a stage and it will automate an email out to them saying, hey, we tried to contact you.
So I know some people that automate a lot of the recruiting where there will be like I guess it's a survey, or maybe when they apply, they get an email to take a survey. And then based on the results of that survey, it filters it down to the organization if it's something worth reaching out to or not. Do you see a lot of companies doing stuff like that?
Yeah, so a lot of it's AI. We actually attempted it at my previous employer. And what we found out through it is that it's just not the same as talking to a human.
Yeah.
It's great. I think what it did do is it showed who was willing to go that extra step mm-hmm. to complete that. But we lost a lot of people because we literally had people commenting back saying, I want to talk to a person, not a robot. I will say it's a challenge of how easy do you make the process to get the applicants in comparison to trying to make the process a little challenging so that you're actually getting the people that kind of go above and beyond. But you definitely have to find that sweet spot. And a lot of it depends upon the industry and the positions that you're hiring for. You have to know when and why you're doing it and make sure that there's a good ROI on it.
One thing that shocks me, and I don't know if you can attest to this, but I see a lot of home improvement companies where they don't even have like a recruiting or an employment page on their website at all. And then you see some of these top organizations where you go on their website and they have their employment opportunities page or recruiting page, and it is so dialed in and polished, and they have testimonials from employees and they have all the reviews and all this stuff. So I guess, can you speak to that? I mean, why do you feel like something like that is also an important element? Like if people see a recruiting ad, there's a chance they may want to go on your website, check it out, and go onto the employment opportunities page. And then if they get, see how polished that is. Yeah.
Well, even going back to your question about, having ads posted all the time, even if you don't have ads posted all the time, if you have a really sharp business or a really sharp website that people can go to and really kind of feel the experience through the page, that's going to allow people to, be interested in you and apply. A lot of businesses, you can just have like a free form on your website. So even if you don't have a job open, they can still, submit their interest for it. So going all the way back to employer brand, like the more we can build the brand up to being a powerhouse company, this is where you want to work, the better it can be for you. Mm-hmm. Power Home Improvement's a really good example. When you go to their website, it's just like so engaging, and they have like a specific site with all of their jobs mm-hmm. and a day in the life page, so people can actually go onto that page and like go with a canvasser for a quick, minute to 2 minutes and see what the reality of that job is. So I think that's all really important in the process, and anything that we can do again in the interview and the phone screening process to guide and direct them to that website to get more traction is huge.
So what do you feel is helpful, like as you're going about trying to create a stronger job posting or maybe a stronger hook to get them to even open the damn thing? What are some things you found that have worked for you?
Yeah, they always say like the first, a lot of job posters don't go past the first paragraph, mm-hmm. maybe even the first sentence. So that's the biggest piece, is making that first few words, that first sentence, that first paragraph super engaging, and bringing it back to what can this job do for them? What's your employer value prop, and what is this company going to do for them? So right away in the top, less sentencey and more bullet points to get right to the point, because people's eyes are attracted to not like essays worth of postings, but quick and to the point. What can this business do for me? Why work here? And what are the responsibilities? What are the qualifications? Just short and sweet and to the point, I think is the best. Within this day and age, again, I've said it a million times, but SEO is huge. So the more you can bring your brand, the more you can put it into the posting, the more so outside sales. If you can put outside sales in your ad 3, 4, 5 times, when a candidate goes to type in outside sales, your ad's going to be one of the top. And within recruiting, there's also the politics, I guess, of the Indeeds and the Glassdoors. You have to pay money for your jobs to be higher on the totem pole. And if the companies have the funding for it, it's 100% worth it. As much as we don't want to admit, money buys stuff like that, but it does.
Well, they should make sure they have an actual recruiting budget set aside. And maybe get a rep from Indeed or whatever, figure out, okay, what would it take to really dominate recruiting in my territory for this position?
With subscriptions like that, there's teams that can help you boost your pages, right? So if you go on to Glassdoor, how can you get more people to, report their salaries or report reviews or company updates? Some people do go into those and look at, okay, what can this company do for me? What are the updates? What have they done? Where are they going? What's their growth look like? All that stuff is what those companies can help you do, especially if you don't have an internal resource to help, kind of build that brand.
What's your opinion on these platforms where you can upload a job posting or whatever, and it basically trickles it out to all the platforms automatically? Instead of individually pasting it on Indeed, what are the pros and cons to that, I guess? Because I guarantee there's some drawbacks. But
so that's very common with ATSs these days. Depending upon where you go, an ATS will have a package where they'll organically blast different job boards. But you can also pay. So the ATS that we had, it organically blasted Monster, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter. Now,
are those the big three, would you say, or is Glassdoor also Monster, ZipRecruiter,
Glassdoor and Indeed are owned by each other now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're partnered.
Gotcha.
But I would say LinkedIn, Indeed's number one, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Monster, are, I guess, some of the top people. And then you have your very niche job boards. In home improvement, we even still recruit off of Craigslist for production people.
That's how I found Mad City.
Yeah.
The rare opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why literally my whole life was changed by Craigslist.
Yeah, it doesn't work so much for the high volume space, but production and 1099 crews, it's huge.
I see people wondering, should I do 1099? Should I do W-2? What do you recommend? Is there pros and cons to both? I usually try to steer them towards W-2 just because I feel people really do nowadays want benefits. They want to have, that peace of mind, they get the insurance and the life, whatever, health, dental, all that. But then also, I feel you have more accountability with actual employees than you do with 1099 independent contractors. I just see organizations that try to build sales powerhouses all 1099. It can work. I'm not saying it can't work, but they have more challenges holding them accountable or getting them to abide by policy and procedure.
Yeah.
Because it's I'm kind of my own entity, so you can kindly just screw off and leave me alone.
Yeah. And realistically, from a compliance standpoint, you have to.
Yeah.
If they're a 1099, you can't control their schedule.
Right.
So it definitely is harder to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
But from, a W-2, I think the insurance is huge.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people coming over to jobs, sales jobs that offer insurance. We're living it right now.
Yeah.
Stuff is freaking expensive.
It's a fortune. It's ridiculous.
It is so crazy. I can't go to the grocery store anymore. And I have myself, my husband, and a little kid that, doesn't eat real food yet.
Yeah.
But I can't leave without spending $200. When you used to be able to go into the grocery store and get a whole cart full for $75.
Yeah.
So just everything that goes along with being an employee, you have sometimes PTO. If you don't have a salary, you don't have PTO usually. Some companies do still offer it based upon, tenure. But there's so many benefits that go into being a W-2 and being able to actually hold people accountable for what they're doing. I think that goes along with the employer value prop too. Like building the excitement and the team culture and everything is way more doable when you're a W-2 versus a 1099.
Yeah. So along with like insurance and other benefits, what are some other things you've seen companies do or you've done personally or your organization has done to really stand out and make this role like more appealing? Yeah, whether it be additional opportunities to whether it be vacations or bonuses or incentives, or maybe it is time off. Yeah. What are some other creative things you've seen to build more excitement in the
I'm actually glad you brought that up because it came up before in one of the other topics. But for sales specifically, like you can do this for any role really at President's Club, right? Something that people can work towards based on different goals at the end of the year. I always see, it's like not one of those things that people actually look for when they're in an interview, but once you say it, it's like an extra like dose of excitement, right? Mad City did for a while the Rolex, competition. So just stuff like that.
So when I first started sales training reps, obviously I'm teaching them the scripts and the system and basically how to navigate it. I would basically say, okay, by tomorrow, I want everyone to master this script and I'm going to have everybody role played verbatim in front of your peers. Yeah. And I'd find that maybe half the class would get it, half the class didn't, and there was excuses, like it just wasn't working. And then to your point, I started saying, okay, let's make this into a competition where they can get recognized, right? So I said, whoever can come back tomorrow and have the script mastered, deliver the most confidently verbatim in front of their peers, I'll throw like a $50 gas card or a new shiny tape measure or a new widget for their inspection kit or throw an iPad, whatever. I don't know, something to get them fighting and competing. And then engaged. I'd have reps staying up till 3-4 in the morning, like, cause they want to win. Yeah. And then I'm like, that was it. That made all the difference.
Yeah. And we even did stuff like that, like when we're talking about employee reviews, like campaigning to always have people reviewing. Now you can't pay for reviews. We learned that. But you can do really exciting campaigns.
Only if you get caught.
Yeah, exactly. But we would do like a Yeti cooler, right? Yeah. Something that people don't like go out and do. If you do a review, we won't tell you what to say, but if you do a review, hopefully it's good.
But here's some suggestions.
Yeah. You'll be entered to win this Yeti cooler, and it's $400. Like that's a decent sized prize. So it makes it worth it for people to do that. Right. Competitions, random competitions, I think are my favorite. Like the engagement that you get from them.
So let's just talk 30,000 foot view, high level. If we were to bullet point this thing out, what do you see as being a good onboarding process?
Prior to going into the recruiting process, I think it's important that you have that baseline. So what are you recruiting for? Why is it successful? Could there be changes before we go in so we're not wasting time? That's a good time too if you have recruiters that are recruiting for something new. I'm a huge fan of ride-alongs because I think it gives them the reality. Some people can say the opposite, where if you put a recruiter into a sales appointment, they're like, holy shit, this is real. But I think that's what cultivates a good recruiter is the ability to speak to the reality, right? Posting the ad, making sure that the ad is super solid. You have the right platforms and the right systems in place. Having the recruiters or the recruiter on the job, super aligned, communicative, really good trusting relationship with the manager, sending them through to the hiring manager interview, making sure there's really clear, distinct communication of where they need to be, what they need to even dress, having them send the prep materials of this is the company, please, do your job and look over the company so you don't look like an idiot when you go into the interview. But really setting up that interview, ensuring your hiring managers know the game, they know the company, they believe in the company, they believe in the products, they believe in the system, they believe in the people. And making sure that they're not only doing that in the interview, but also, living that life after they sign the offer letter. But from there, getting an offer letter ASAP. I don't mean you have to send it right after they leave the door, but best practice in this industry with a high volume role, not a corporate role, but a high volume role is like 24 hours. The average time a candidate's on, looking for work if they are unemployed or they're, employed but looking because they're just not happy where they're at right now, is 3 days.
Yeah.
So if you're catching them at that 2-3 day mark, chances are they're going to be picked up pretty quick. And I will say that's something that a lot of companies like really struggle with. Like they want to make them wait. It's like a little like game of like it's kind of torture, honestly. And then just making sure from that point on that they have hopefully the tools and resources to have their onboarding experience automated, and they know exactly how they're prepped and prepared for their first day. And I think what's really important is that onboarding is not just a one-day thing. Onboarding is literally a 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 week process that you're really just initiating yourself into the business, experiencing the different people and the different systems and the different processes that make this entire company go.
Yeah.
And it's really important that the people around that new employee make them feel welcomed. They're not intimidated. And that's the type of environment we want to build with these people, is that just because we're bringing in more people means that you guys have more opportunity. So
what would you say is like one of the biggest mistakes you've made or seen people make when hiring or when recruiting a new employee or a new salesperson? Is there something that stands out to you like, oh, I really let that one slip through my fingers? Or
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a person. What I would say, and it's a benefit and a positive and a negative, is just moving too fast. Yeah. You skip things that are really important in the process when you move too fast.
Yeah.
You cut corners when you have too much on your plate. And I did that for a while. It was a hard lesson for me to learn that I needed to delegate. I can't be the all person, and a good leader will duplicate themselves and others. And that's what's going to allow the business to grow. That's
absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Leadership multiplies, and instead of having impact on one person at a time, now you have this multiplication effect that occurs where you can impact and influence so many people. What do you see as being your goal in this new chapter in your life, and like this whole thing of GU Talent Solutions, right? Yeah. So what is really the vision there? What are we hoping to bring to this industry that maybe wasn't there before? Yeah. And I guess, what was it about Grosso University that you felt made you feel comfortable to put your faith, aside from just me being awesome, of course? But like, what do you see as being the goal of this, GU Talent Solutions, and kind of your mission in life now moving forward?
Yeah, well, like I said, home improvement is such a specific industry. It's a niche industry. And working with different clients, I've just realized how different it is. I've worked with clients that are working with other third parties, and they're not getting anybody, and they're sitting and they're waiting there to get the right people. And, I stepped in, and volumes of people are coming in, and they have big classes. So I think I'm really excited to kind of continue the pathway of this niche experience that I've built up. And on a bigger level, I am super excited to help companies do what I did at Mad City and then at Renuity. Not many people can say that they started at a company of 40 and moved themselves up into the head of, recruiting and HR at a national organization. And as that was a great chapter of my life, and it taught me so many things, I'm ready to help make an impact on other companies that want to do the same thing. Yes. And by doing this, I'm able to do it with a lot more companies than just one. So
along with being niche, what do you feel like really separates this new service that we're kind of building and developing versus just a standard recruiting operation?
I mean, they're getting your training.
Yeah, of course.
So the businesses, all of the hard work is done for them, right? We do everything on the people space, the talent space. They're involved a little bit to get make sure that the people we want to bring in are the right people.
Right.
But we're bringing them in, we're training them, and then, from there, we're giving them ongoing coaching and development. For some of the companies that are small and don't have the capacity to do that on their own, we're doing it for them. For some of the companies that are bigger, we're helping them be a little bit more efficient than what they could have been, without this.
We can literally help them build a sales powerhouse, and now we have the ability to make sure the people that we're training are top quality talent. And
Absolutely.
I like that you share the same vision. It's nothing we're doing. We're not trying to be average in any form of the fashion. We don't want an average salesperson. We want top quality talent. And that's with any role, not just with sales, but we want to recruit the best of the best. And your background and experience and what you've learned having that niche in this industry, it just really gives you that compelling insight.
It's not just a third party coming in and you give them an ad and we're recruiting. Yeah. Like, I deep dive into what baseline structure we're working off of. And then from there, it doesn't end at an accepted hire, that then moves to the sales division. We're going to continue to peel back that onion. And if you're having turnover with really great, solid candidates, we want to find out why so that we can button up any pieces in this. Yes. It's not just the starting line. We want to take these people, hopefully not to the finish line, but yeah, exactly. we want to see them be retained. Yes. And we want these people to grow these businesses to something they've never experienced.
I got a phrase that I got from Rick Grosso that speaks to that. So we want to build shining stars, not shooting stars.
Oh, there you go.
Shooting stars, they burn out and fizzle away and they disappear.
Should I turn my lights on and start digging?
Exactly. So it's absolutely magnificent. I just want to say, thank you for putting your faith in Grosso University, and congrats to everything you've achieved. Yeah. It's crazy to think that, you've come as far in your journey as you have, but it's just the beginning, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
You're just getting warmed up. So I guess if people are interested in this GU Talent Solutions, I guess, how do you recommend they start? What does that first discovery session look like? Yeah. And how do we determine if a client is a good fit for the program?
Yeah. So what we usually do is we get the team together. We kind of figure out what it is they're looking for, obviously on a call. We will talk about the logistics of the partnership and kind of lay out expectations, because this isn't going to be a pillar approach, right? It's a team effort. We need all parties on the same road. Then we go through like a discovery session of, okay, what is your program? What does your program look like? And I take that back and I kind of analyze it. We run it against competitors, and we just make sure that we have something super strong to recruit from. And then we'll get it launched. And so we're really, it's really important that we have expectations set, availability for interviews. We try to make it as seamless as possible. So really all they need to be available for is the interviews, and hopefully the time that they're spending interviewing is with candidates that they want to then hire. Yeah. So it's all important as part of that startup to really the feedback loop is super important and vital for success, so that we can learn and adapt and really just get all-star players in. So it's a pretty quick process. The longest piece I would say in the onboarding is just really ensuring that the platform that we're working with is scalable and competitive.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on your first podcast ever. So it was a lovely conversation.
Yeah.
There's no better time to reach out to Grosso University, because we have the master of the universe when it comes to recruiting. Good news is Karli is a master at recruiting recruiters, as we already proved. So this program is going to scale, so we are able to offer this to the masses. So again, thank you so much, Karli.
Thank you.
But just remember, in the world of business, volume is for vanity and profit is for
sanity.
Isn't it? All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.